report localizer established runway 27 left, speedbird 232.
245, please.
Speedbird 232.
Shuttle 14 Papa, reduce 180 knots.
180 knots, shuttle 14 Papa. Speedbird 232, established localizer 27 left.
Speedbird 232, descend ILS.
Descend ILS, speedbird 232.
Shuttle 14 Papa, turn right, heading 180.
Right, 180, shuttle 14 Papa.
I'll tell you 79 Alpha. I'll tell you 79 Alpha, turn left, heading 060. Shuttle 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27 left.
Right, 245, call you localizer established 27 left, shuttle 14 Papa.
I'll tell you 79 Alpha, turn left, heading 360 degrees. Speedbird 232, you can start reducing speed now, but not less than 160 until you reach 4.
Not less than 160 to 4, speedbird 232.
I'll tell you 79 Alpha, turn left, heading 305, report localizer established on 27 left.
305, report long established.
Speedbird 851, reduced to 180 knots.
180 knots, speedbird 851.
Shuttle 14 Papa, descent to altitude 3,000 feet.
Altitude 3,000 feet, shuttle 14 Papa.
Good evening, this is 362
Chris 368, roger. Speedbird 232, contact tower 18.5.
18.5, speedbird 232, goodbye. Shuttle 14 Papa, localized established 27 left.
Shuttle 14 Papa.
Hello everyone and welcome to the live stream. I see a few people that have just joined, so if you guys can give me a quick shout out in the chat box to let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. Today is going to be the live stream of all live streams. You are going to learn so much, and it's going to be about a 2.5 hour episode. You will learn how to plan a flight. You'll see a mistake in planning a flight that we will have to correct. We will fly in an aircraft that some of you have maybe never seen before. It's a $100 aircraft. It's the IXEG B-737-300. And it is the most real aircraft that I've ever flown in X-Plane 11. So you're going to get to see that. It's only my second time flying it, so we should have some fun with the odd mistake here and there. And then we'll sit back, relax, and fly from Halifax to Boston. So I hope everyone is ready for a good time. So hey guys, awesome. Thanks for the quick shout out. I'm glad because last night I started and I forgot to turn on my microphone for a little bit. And let's just say I'm sure it wasn't so fun for the people watching. So thanks everybody for the shout out. Okay, so first things first, on the screen is skyvector.com, and I also have SimBrief. I want to show you these two because I made a mistake last night that had I used both of these tools, we wouldn't have had. So we are flying from Halifax, which is CYHZ, to Boston, which is KBOS, with an alternate of KJFK if we run into some problems. We're going to be flying the airframe of a 737-300, but the 800 is close enough to give me my fuel range. We're going to be leaving runway 23, as you can see here, and we'll be arriving at 22 left. Okay? So below here on the route is where we start to get into some trouble, and I'll show you that in a second. So because you don't see any number at the first of this route, and let me zoom in a little bit for you guys so you can see this a little better. You can see SENVI, but there's no number at the end. That means there's no standard instrument departure, or SID. But there is a number at the end, which means there's a star, so a standard arrival. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these routes, and I'll hit Analyze Route, and it tells me it's good. So here's where we get into some trouble. Last night I just trusted this like the gospel, and unfortunately we got in some issues. Our 3-hour flight would have turned into like a 10-hour flight. So you can see here on the map, everything looks normal. It looks like I'm going from Dartmouth, and then I'm kind of flying over the ocean here and then into Boston. So I don't see any problems. But if I was to go over here to SkyVector and plug in this route and basically click somewhere so that it updates, let's have a look. Well, that doesn't look like a straight path to me, does it? What do we got going on here? So let's zoom in. We're leaving Halifax. We end up bouncing way up here for some reason. You'll see, we're going to get there. I want you to see how crazy this is. We're still going. We're still going. All right, way up here. I'm going to zoom out because this is crazy. And then we go right back. And then we go on our way. So, does anyone here in the chat see a small problem here? Again, let's look at SimBrief. There's the map that SimBrief says that that particular route takes us. Almost a direct path. And there is the route that SkyVector says that that same thing would take. Well, I can tell you that SkyVector is right because we started to fly this yesterday, and by golly, it was not so fun. Yes, to Toronto, we are going to be using X-Plane 11, and like I said, a smoking awesome plane that you guys have probably never seen before. Squeeze, so can you comment on there? You say we messed up a waypoint. So again, I'm just using the simbrief.com, which they say is, the correct path, and it looks like it's all good, but it doesn't look good. So again, so I wanted to show you this for planning purposes. We're not going to use this plan, obviously, but I want you to see this so that when you use simbrief.com, you can second guess it sometimes. So don't just take this as being, yeah, copy, paste, and let's go. Check it out on SkyVector and make sure that it's okay first. So, all right. Hey, that's your island. Well, I'm from Prince Edward Island, so a little bit from Halifax, but I'm in Ottawa now. So let's go ahead and fix this. So what we'll do, let's highlight each portion of the route until we find the mistake. So if I highlight Vigma here, looks like Vigma is this weird point in the middle of nowhere land. So if I delete Vigma, and then we kind of go back, it looks like it fixes itself here. Okay. So again, that is one way that we could do this. So I just want you guys to see this is a way that you can do it, okay? The other way is in skyvector.com, you can go into routes, and there's some predefined routes already available that some people have already created. So this particular one says it's going to take us 7 hours. I don't know why it's not going to take us. But, because of the speed, we'll have to set that. So I'm going to go ahead and accept this route that someone else has already built because I'm sure they did a better job than me. So let's go ahead and I'll explain what we see on the screen. So the first thing I'm going to do for you guys is, as you guys know, I have a ticker tape on the top of my stream. So I'm just going to update the waypoints here. So just bear with me. We have CAAPE to FRENN, and then we're going to be going to BBPVK, and then we'll go to PRENT. Then BGR, ENE, UKES. So I think we got too many points on here. So I'm not going to bother updating the ticker tape with all the points up top. I'm just going to leave the departure and arrival, the ICOs. You guys will see it up there, okay? You guys have it on the screen. So let's pop into X-Plane 11 and let's get this going, guys. All right. I hope you guys are ready to see this awesome plane. I have never flown in Finland, but I want to check that out. I also was asked if I'm willing to do an international flight one of these days. So that is another thing I would like to do. So let's get out of this horrible map and see some cool things. We are going to set ourselves up with my pretty face on the screen and X-Plane 11. There you go. My pretty face and X-Plane 11, exactly what I promised. Let's go ahead and first select the IXEG B-737-300. I paid about $100 for this plane from xaviation.com. That's x-aviation.com. It's an older aircraft, but it has a ton of liveries, and I tell you, it is the most realism that I've experienced in a plane. It is pretty cool. I also learned a really cool trick today, guys. Yesterday's stream, I mentioned how slow the X737 project was as far as coming to typing in waypoints. And I was wondering why every time I typed in a waypoint, it was extremely slow. I did some searching, and it turns out that every single time you enter a waypoint, it searches a file in your X-Plane directory. And what happens with all files in your computer? Your antivirus or anti-malware software tries to scan it. And that, depending on how fast or slow your computer is, or your hard drive for that matter, could add a little bit to the delay. So, tip number one, if you want a faster flight management computer, go into your antivirus, whether it's Windows Defender or some other software that you use, McAfee, AVG, Panda, or the millions others that are out there, and exclude your X-Plane 11 directory so that you don't have the same delays that I had. So just going to take a quick break and see the chat. How do you find your charts in Canadian airports without Navigraph? So I do have a Navigraph subscription right now. As far as that, you can search for some free charts by just doing a Google. You can also pay. I believe Nav Canada sells charts as well that you can buy if that's what you want to fly. So you can buy it from Navigraph. You can also buy it from Nav Canada. So the camera situation, if you guys feel that I should turn it off, you let me know. I'm all more keen to turn off my beautiful face. It is a Intel RealSense camera that automatically removes the background from the picture. So instead of it actually being a green screen, it's actually doing it live. So being a technology guy myself, I always like to play with new toys. This is an Intel RealSense camera. It has depth. It has 3D. It can measure objects. It can do 3D scanning. It's pretty crazy. So I believe that the Razer company has their own clone of this. This is the developer version that I'm using today. So as you can see, it's not great. It only does 30 frames a second, and normally I shoot at 60 for my tutorials, but it's not bad. Okay, we'll pop away from chat for a second. I need to be able to see the second screen to type in the waypoints. So we'll go into our plane. Anyone have a preference today on our livery? Is United okay, or should we select another one? I'll leave it on the screen. You guys can tell me what the livery we should use today will be. I'm thinking myself that United is not bad. So I'm not seeing any preferences from anybody in the chat. So I'm going to stick with United. And I'm going to go ahead and go to Boston. Also, you guys are going to get a special treat because I'm going to show you. I don't have WestJet on this particular one, I don't think, Squeeze. I would love to, but I think this is one of the older aircraft, and I didn't see a livery for WestJet in there. But you know what? I'm just going to go back one just in case there is. I didn't see it. Yeah, no, I wish. So I might have to do a search. This, like I said, this is a special aircraft. It's not one of the normal aircraft that a lot of people have because it is so expensive. I did get a request for Delta. Do I have a Delta? Sure. All right. Delta it is. Delta Air Cargo. So let's go to here. And the special treat that I told you guys, I have purchased another plugin. I'm going to go into debt here purchasing plugins, guys. So I purchased another plugin, and what that plugin is a system that lets you find the taxiway. So I know there's a free one. There's one called Airport Navigator, and I'm not a big fan of it myself. It's free, it's not bad, but one of the cons of it is that what it doesn't let you do is easily zoom in and out as you move your plane. You literally have to like press buttons nonstop to try to get in there and to find your way. So not a big fan there. So I am starting at the gate for the sole purpose of showing you guys what the heck I'm talking about as far as this goes. But I have a plugin called Airport Visual System is the paid one. It's about $20 from the xplane.org store. And why I love this so much is because it's spectacular. That's why. And it doesn't look like my sound from X-Plane is coming into my headset for some reason. So let's just check out that really fast. And let's fix my rudder pedals because I did want to set that up for that. There we go. And I'm going to make sure that this is no longer set up for that. There we go. So we'll put that at yeah as well, and we have reverse access. I have the Eclipse CH Products yoke and the Eclipse CH Products rudder pedals. So let's see what that does. Okay, so there we go. Now let's just look at the sound here. I might have to exit out X-Plane and jump back in. Yep, we'll do that really fast. It won't take too long, folks. It's worth the wait. Trust me, once you see this particular aircraft and all the features that it has, you will not want to wait. So while that is loading, we should see something come up here in a second. Again, we're just waiting on X-Plane to load. We'll enter in the flight plan to the flight management computer. We'll go through all the procedures to take off. And then we'll listen to some cool tunes because it's about an hour-and-a-half flight. But we'll be landing directly in. This plane says it can do an auto landing. I tried it earlier. It kind of cut me off at about 400 feet, and then I just did it anyway. So we'll try it, I guess. So let's resume our last flight and get things rolling. Sorry about that, but I recently plugged in my headset while X-Plane was already loaded, and because of that, unfortunately, I didn't hear the sounds in my headset. So, and I would like to hear the sounds. So, let's check the chat. What joystick do I use? I am using, this is the 737-300 squeeze, and Toyota, I am using the CH Products Eclipse yoke and CH Products rudder pedals. And a funny story, I actually picked up the rudder pedals at Value Village, which is like a thrift store in Canada, for $10. So I got a steal of a deal, so it's awesome. Okay, we are here inside the X737, and I'm going to take away my beautiful picture so that you guys can get to see it full perspective. And then we'll worry about seeing my picture a little later. So we are inside. The first thing we're going to do is I'm going to switch to my other monitor so I can look at the actual points on the screen. Let's go zoom in on the flight management computer. This particular aircraft has a feature. If I move my mouse to the far left hand side, a menu comes up, and then I can go to ground services, and then it tells me my zero fuel weight is 37.39 tons. So we will type 37.39 tons into the zero fuel weight. We'll fly with 5,300 liters of reserve fuel, so we'll type 5.3 and put that into the reserves. We'll be flying at a cruising altitude today of 30,000 feet, so let's type in 30,000 and select the cruising altitude. Everything on this screen looks good to me, so let's go ahead and select the N1 limit button. Okay, we're going to take off at full thrust today, so we won't make any changes. However, if we had a smaller runway, or we wanted to, or a longer runway, and we wanted to reduce our thrust, we could do a climb 1 or climb 2, but for now we'll just go to our takeoff. Flaps we'll just do 1, so we'll specify 1 and go ahead and put it in there. And we'll just accept the V1, VR, and V2. So V1 is the speed that if something happens before that speed, we will abort. VR is the speed that I will pull up from the ground. And V2 is the safe speed that if I blow an engine, I can keep going. So that is that. The next thing that we'll do is we will go ahead to our departure button, and we will select our departing airport and our arrival airport. So actually, first things first, I got to go to the init ref page, and I got to put in my position as CYHZ. CYHZ. Pop that in there. Now I can finally go here and select my departure, I guess. Right. I have to put in my waypoints first. Sorry, guys. We'll go to route. We're going to be going to KBOS. KBOS. I guess I could simply put in the origin first. Then I can type in KBOS. Too many things going on. There we go. And we now can go to our route. And I will switch to the other screen for 1 second. And just make sure I have the waypoint. So our first waypoint, CAAPE. CAAPE. And that'll be a direct to. Then we're going to FRENN. FRENN. And that'll be via a air route. So if you're like, what the heck are you talking about here, Jason? Let's show you. Cutting back to our maps. So if we look at our tool, skyvector.com, our first waypoint is right here. And then you can see we're going to these airways. So if I look at the next waypoint, which is FRENN, you can see I'm on a particular airway here, essentially. Q951, And you can see all the way through, these are called jetways. And I want to make sure that I'm on the right one. So I think I need to switch to a different one here to see the right one. I'm not seeing the Victor Airways. There we go. There's T en route high. I'm not seeing the one that I was seeing earlier, but we'll stick with here. So V310 and V300, these are airways. V3, same thing. So we'll want to specify these things. So we'll go back to the plane here. We'll cut over. And there we go. So now I'm going to go and enter in V310 here. And set it in there. There we go. Then we'll head to BB, PVK. BB, PV, and K. And let's pop that in here. Then PRENT. PRENT. Plug that in there. And that is going to be next going to BGR. BGR, which I think is a VOR. And it comes up on the screens and asks me which one. So how would I know which one? Let's find out. Let's go back to the web browser, cutting over, and it asks me on the screen which VOR do I want at BGR. So first of all, we'd have to find our BGR, and I can simply highlight this and it shows me, and you can see on the screen that BGR is 114.8 right here in the box. So that means if I was to switch back to the simulator, I want 114.8, so it's the top one right here. There we go. So let's select the left-hand side. There we go. And this was via a special route, V3. So we can specify V3, and I'll put that here. There we go. And we keep going, folks. We keep going. We are now going to ENE. So we hit next page. ENE, which is another VOR, I believe. And we will be going to ENE through V93. Let's plug that in there. Then we're going to YUKES. Almost done. They're saying this is pretty boring. Can we get to the flying parts? That will come soon enough, and then you'll say that that's boring because it's going to be a long flight. So YUKES, that's what I have. We plug it in here, and then we will say that is a V106. Plug that here. Then I think we have one left. WA. How about I type WAXEN, waxin, wax on, wax off, and we will specify V3 for Victor 3 Airway, if it finds it, and it does. All right, so there's our routes. So now what we'll do is we'll go to our departure here, select it. We're going to be taking off from runway 23. And that's all there is today, since we're not doing any standard instrument departure. We go back to our arrivals. I'm going to hit next page until I find the ILS for 22L. There it is. And I'm good there. And now I will go to my climb profile, and I'll make sure, yep, 30,000 feet, it looks good. I'll go to my cruise profile. Everything looks good. And I'll go to my descent profile, and I'm happy with that. So now there's always a bug whenever you do anything with the flight management computer. So what we need to do is fix that bug by clicking on the lags piece. So we click lags, and then you see all this junk, route discontinuity, all this fun stuff. So what you do is you select the first valid waypoint. So this is CAAPE. It comes up at the bottom, and then you select the empty boxes at the top. And then that makes that bug go away. And we look through and we find another one. So we select Wayne, and then we select this one, and that fixes that one. And we keep going here, and we look some more. So if you see vectors, or if you see route discontinuity, those are all bad. But it's all good, so we'll activate it, we'll execute it, and we're ready to fly, folks. So we'll go to program here, and this is going to be the screen we'll use the most. Somehow we landed in the parking lot, so I guess I must let off the rudder pedals for a second there. So let's fix that. Let's get a little bit of speed going here. Apparently we are currently inside a building, folks, is what I'm seeing here. So let's fix that right now, because the nice part about a simulator is you can just go right through buildings, I guess. So let's pretend that didn't happen. And now I get to show you this plugin that I was talking about here. The other thing I notice, it looks like my rudder pedals are not activating properly. So these are my rudder pedals, and it says this here. It says yaw. And if I go to the Eclipse yoke, it also says yaw. So I'll turn that off, and I'll go to my rudder pedals, and I'll, yep. And now let's see if that works. There we go. Much better. I guess you can't have two set up. So, if you think the graphics on this plane are stunning, you just wait till we get a little bit further and I start showing you some of the interior views. I'm just not trying to spoil it. We have a long flight to go, and you have not seen anything yet. Loading up the plugin Airport Visual Studio, it's time that you see my ugly face again. So let's go ahead and put that on. Here we go. There I am. This is Airport Visual Studio. It is a $20 plugin. It is spectacular if you're going to fly online with VATSIM. It is mandatory unless you're super genius and you can follow the taxi lines yourself. So I have here my ICAO for my departure, CYHZ. We'll zoom in. There I am. I can use the middle mouse button to pan around. And we'll be taking off from runway 23, so it's a very short taxi. We go to airports, we go to taxiways. There's two ways to approach this. The let's just play and let the computer figure it out, and the I want to go a specific route. So I call up the tower and I'm like, hey tower, hook me up with a taxi to the runway. And they say, yeah, you're going to have to follow Delta. So I could click on Delta over here. And then you're going to have to go on to Echo and then Frank. And then you can go ahead into the runway. So whatever I'm told, I can create custom routes, or I can simply select my gate, like so, select the point on the runway I want to go to, and there I am. Now I hit accept, I can zoom in, and I know where to go. The other thing I can do is I can go over here to origin, change it to destination, change it to KBOS, which is where we're going to be going to. Sometimes it gets kind of wonky, so you go up here to default. There you go. We know we'll be landing at 22 left, which is here. So let's kind of zoom in a bit. And let's now go to taxiways. So we'll get off here. And we'll go to a gate over here or something like that. Yeah, we'll go to somewhere over here. Right there. From here. And we'll accept that. So now we already have our destination plan. So when we get close to Boston, we just fire up this again and we don't have to scramble quick, okay? So let's switch back to our origin. Here we are. Let's go ahead and release the brakes. And let's get going, folks. Let's follow the yellow brick road. So this, unfortunately, unlike, and it looks like the rudder pedals need reversing, so I apologize. We go back to here, we remove the reverse, and life goes back to being good again. All right, so unlike the air traffic control system in X-Plane 11 when you taxi, where it shows you the lines on the ground, this unfortunately does not. but it does rotate the map. So again, for a $20 plug-in so that you can fly online, it is absolutely amazing. So we're on our way to Boston, which is not a flight by any means, about 400 miles, but it is what it is. And I have always done streams lately that were about an hour long, and I wanted to change that because I wanted to take the time for you guys to also see all the parameters. And for those of you that have not watched one of my streams lately, you just wait, because I have a special surprise, and I'm going to activate it right now. Here we go. So can everyone see the ticker tape at the top? Can everyone see the ticker tape at the top? This is a new thing that I'm testing, so you'll be able to see the complete flight as we go. So here we are, we're coming on to runway 23. Oh, sorry, 22, yeah, 23. 22 left is where we'll be arriving to. And I don't know if you guys can see this on the live stream, but the whole plane is shaking. I hear the sounds of the shaking. So if you guys want me to turn this up, you let me know, okay? I want you guys to let me know if you want me to turn up the volume here, because you can actually hear every aspect of the plane. So you can see the shaking. So let's check out a few things of this aircraft. First of all, let's have a look outside. We are flying Delta. Let's zoom in. Give everyone a good look. This is a $100 aircraft, folks. It is awesome. We got our 2 pilots inside. Comes with about 10 or 15. Hey, Fat. You were on, I think, my stream a couple times ago. That's awesome. So let's pop inside. There we go. We're inside first class right now, and let's take a walk through, ladies and gentlemen. Please keep your seatbelts fastened and all your items stowed underneath your whatever, and be prepared to party on this 2-hour flight, because it's going to be spectacular on this great 737-300. So as you can see, we are inside the interior of this lovely plane, and every single thing about this plane can be changed. Like, look at this. Look at this. Check this out, guys. Up top is a light for the pilot to see his map. I can move it around. Check that out. See this? Yes, I'm moving it around. Over here is a view. I can click it, and now I can see outside. So I can click it, and it's gone again. Every single small level of detail. I can move my seat back and forward. Look at that, guys. I'm moving my seat up and down. So if the pilot is uncomfortable, he can do whatever he wants. I can go ahead and move over here. I can open the door by clicking on it. I can walk into where the stewardess would create our drinks and coffee. And I can go inside and see if there's any goodies. And there's none. I can even open the door if I want to. Not this particular door. And I can do that. So for those of you that don't know, I'm going to walk you through a couple shortcuts later on how you can go ahead and create these shortcuts to get around. So once we get up in the air, we'll do that a little more. All right, so let's go ahead and prepare. First thing we'll do, let's go down to the engine screen here, and we'll increase our throttle for N1 to 40%. Thanks, Zebra. All right, 40%. Away we go. Next thing we're going to do is come on to the MCP over here, and we will change our altitude to 30,000 feet or so. The X737 project, folks, has the option that you can simply type it in, and I really wish I had that feature in this aircraft, but everything else about this plane is awesome. My heading is set to 230, which is exactly what it's supposed to be set to. Let's have a look over here. We'll activate the co-pilot flight director. We'll activate the pilot flight director. We'll arm the auto throttle. Let's go ahead and arm our flaps to 1. Prepare for takeoff. There we go. All right, let's look up here, and there is a switch to turn our landing lights on, so we've done all that. Let's tell our passengers that they shouldn't be smoking and fasten their seatbelts. We'll put on our logo, our strobe, our position. Anti-collision's already on. We'll put the wing doesn't need to be on, and our wheels don't need to be on right now. We are ready to go soon, folks. And then I'm going to show you some of the cool features of this aircraft. So let's check out with our flight crew. Hello, cabin crew. I would like you to open the first door, please. Can you open the door left? And let's look. I guess since we're not at the gate, we can't do that. So we're ready to go. Are we ready to go? I am. What we are going to do is we are going to activate heading mode. And we're going to activate VNAV mode soon. And when we get in the air, we will activate the autopilot so that we fly the heading of 23. Ladies and gentlemen, I have activated the takeoff go around button, also known as toga. Look at this baby shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. All right. Rotate, rotate. We are off the ground, folks. We are off the ground. Landing gear up. Let's activate our autopilot. The autopilot also manages my thrust for me because I have my flaps down. It keeps me at about 185 knots. You can hear all the noise. Let's raise the flaps. Let's go ahead and take off our vertical hold and put on LNAV and our vertical navigation. And let's watch this puppy go. Here we go. 2,500 feet on our way up to 30,000 feet in the IXEG B-737-300. Say that 5 times fast. We are turning around. Let's have a look at our controls. We're in VNAV mode. We're in LNAV mode. Auto throttle, flight director, autopilot. Let's go ahead and zoom in on our engines and make sure that we're okay. We're currently at almost 90% full thrust right now. Vitalis, I agree. It is, like I said, this is the best plane I've ever had so far, an X-plane, when it comes to realism. And the, like, you know, the minor things that I wish this plane had are so minor. Like, I wish that I had a pop-out flight management computer. I wish it was like the X737 project that I could simply click in the box and do that. But, you know, it is what it is. But it is just spectacular. It's spectacular. So, everything is looking good. Let's check out our altitude over here. We're at 9,000 feet and climbing, 250 knots because that's the legal limit below 10,000 feet. But we're almost over 10,000 feet, so we can speed up soon. We're on our first waypoint, which is 71 nautical miles. And now let's go ahead and look at the flight management computer, because these are very important things that you need to know. So what you can see on the screen, we're going from this CAAPE waypoint to the YSJ VOR. We see our fuel consumption on the right hand side for that. And we can see that we're basically 451 nautical miles away from our destination. This bottom left part of the flight management computer is what you really have to pay attention to, folks. See what it says, 33 nautical miles to T/C. That means top of climb. And that basically means that I will be at my 30,000 feet that I want to hit when I'm at 32 nautical miles, when that goes to 0. Then it will change from T/C to our cruise mode, and then I will be able to see the next thing, which is basically top of descent. So hey, squeeze that lime. TSJ is St. John. Cool, are you from Canada as well? I go past St. John quite often whenever I drive to Prince Edward Island. So that's kind of cool. So when we get to those 29 nautical miles away, we're going to see a T/C on this EFI as well. But I've been yakking for so much that I forgot to realize that we're above our 10,000 feet, so I'm allowed to turn off the landing lights. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. And I think it's time to annoy our passengers a little bit by flicking on the seatbelt sign a little bit, because that's kind of fun. Thanks for joining us, Tutunero. I appreciate you. And feel free to come back and watch the stream later on, about a day, so you can catch out the total trip yourself and see how I made out. So thanks for that. All right, so you guys wanted to know more about this aircraft. We're in the air and I got some time to kill. So let's show you some cool things. So if I move my mouse to the far left-hand side, a menu pops up. I can select hits and tips, and then basically it tells me all the cool things that I can do. So you can bind custom key binds for various controls, such as the toga function and all kinds of other things. You can see there's a pre-flight menu and so on and so on, okay? If I go back here, I have preferences. So if I want the camera to shake or not, if I want to have winglets on the aircraft, it doesn't make any impact to the physics of the aircraft, but again, it's there. I can have rain or ice on the windshield if it's raining. I can use old-fashioned steam gauges instead of the digital ones if I'd like. I can draw vortices. I can have the eyebrow windows. I like these features, so I keep them on. You can change between kilos and tons, or metric or imperial, and you can even have custom animations in a replay. So if we go back here again, you can play with ground surfaces. So when you're on the ground, you can actually have various trucks come up. You can have the trucks that put cargo on your plane come up. You can have the fuel truck come. You can have about 4 or 5 different trucks come up. You also have a cabin crew that can open up various doors when you're parked on the ground. You can see it's grayed out when I'm in the air. I can also view some presets. These are the cameras that I was talking about. And I can even simulate some failures, which I don't want to do right now. If I move my mouse to the far bottom left, I get a view presets screen that comes up. And that is really cool, because what that lets me do is, let's say I want to adjust the field of view. I can just drag this bar, like so, and I can adjust the field of view without having to go into the X-plane settings. So that's kind of cool. If I want to look at the visual piece, I click visual and I can see out the window, which is a beautiful view. If I want to see the captain's view, I can click Captain. I can see the IFR, which is all the instruments that I require. And while we're here, I'll bring to your attention T/C at the top. That's top of climb. So you can see that when these circles, we'll zoom in a little more here, when this T/C arrives at my plane and I zoom out, I should be at 30,000 feet. So let's wait and see. Almost there. So let's look. There we go. 28,000. We're almost there. So again, that's something else to watch out for. Moving back here again, I can switch to my flight management computer, my throttle panel, my pedestal panel, and the alternate pedestal panel. I could see the MCP, my overhead view, and even further up the overhead view. I can look out the window of my co-pilot or as an observer. I can see my first officer. And I can save the view. So if I want, we'll say when I click visual to zoom in more, I can simply adjust my field of view or zoom in and out and then hit save view over here. So it'll save that view for me. So anytime I want to in the future see that same view, I can do that. So it is a really amazing plane, folks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little break for about 5 minutes while we're flying. I'll put on some tunes and I'll be right back. Alright, everybody, I'm back. I hope everyone is still with me. Back in the cockpit we go. We are now looking at the X-737. It is a great aircraft. As I was showing you some of the features, I really love that you can set a field of view. And you can set a field of view essentially for any aspect of the plane. So again, you come to the left-hand side. You can zoom out a little bit here if you want to see. You can even go and play with this little wheel for your flight checklist. So that's kind of cool. But pretty much everything is movable in this plane. Like I just can't get over that you can just literally drag the seats forward and backward. If I was looking at it from view, I can pick up pretty much anything. There's even a piece back here, if I can find it, that if the wheels get stuck and I need to have an emergency system, you can see here, even this turns, I can go ahead and pull that as well. So it's really cool. Like it's just, I can't believe the level of detail that they've gone through in this particular aircraft. Now it is $100. It was recently updated yesterday, actually. I downloaded the latest update. So I would highly recommend it. It is extremely worth it. So the views are spectacular. The reflections are spectacular. Really, really, really impressed. So let's have a look at our current situation. We are flying from Halifax to Boston. According to our flight management computer, we have 220 nautical miles to our top of descent. Let's look at our current speed. We are going 243. That is too slow for me, folks. So let's boost that up a bit. And you might like, how do I do that, Jason? No problem. We're going to click the cruise button. And you can see our target speed is 0.651. Let's now, when you go above 30,000 feet, you switch from knots to Mach. So we will go ahead and type in 0.700 and plug that in here and hit execute. And let's watch our speed go up here and see what happens. There we go. We're going faster now. See here, 0.67. So when it gets to 0.70, that's what we just typed in. So that is another way that you can use if you're not quite sure how to switch between knots and Mach. So right now that didn't do much for me. So let's go a little more. A little more. 0.800. Let's go. Go, team, go. We want to go faster. That's what we want to do. Let's put the ticker tape back on so everyone can see what's going on. We're making our turn now, by the way. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. We're banked at about a, I don't know, 15-degree angle. Our speed, as you can see, is going up here. I'd like to be at about 300 knots. Speed our trip up a little bit. Looks like I might get my wish. We dialed in 0.800, so let's see what this does. I think we're going to go a little over, but we'll see. I'm happy with that. As long as we don't run out of fuel, I'm okay. So let's check out the chat. Things are kind of quiet. What's the master caution on for? I don't know. Good question. I think I must have, if I was to guess, when I took off from Halifax, I did not set my speed at the desired speed. And when I had my flaps down, I oversped. So you're not supposed to go beyond about 192 knots whenever you have flaps down to 1, according to the manual of this. I was at like 250, so bad me. So I think that's what the master caution was on for, but I can't be certain 100%. So any other questions? Are you guys enjoying this particular aircraft? Do you find that you guys might purchase this aircraft? Would you prefer the Cirrus Vision SF50 now that it is essentially available? Or do you think you'll stick with the glass cockpit Cessna? What's everyone thinking here? What have you? So as we get closer to Boston, we can use the airport visual system plugin that I purchased, and we can basically use this to select our destination, which is Boston, so that when we start our landing procedures, we're ready to go, essentially. So that's kind of cool. So it's kind of neat. Hey, Sean. I'm glad you can hear that. I wasn't sure the volume of my voice compared to the aircraft, so I wasn't sure how that was coming through, and I was kind of concerned that you guys couldn't hear all the rattling and the shaking and all that stuff. I don't know if you can even see, but look at this. Like, even the wires are here. Here, let's zoom in. Can you guys see that? Like, check out this. Look at the wires. Like, all the wires are even drawn out. So if you get outside underneath the aircraft, you can even see all the little wires. It's just crazy the detail that they've gone through with this aircraft. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to save this view so it stops bugging me like that. So now it should, there we go, save this view. That's great. So let's look outside a little bit. For those of you that are new watching the stream, if you wait till after we post this onto my YouTube channel, you're going to get the best tutorial you'll find all in one shot. You will get a flight planning session. You will see a mistake that is pardon me, apparent in SimBrief. You will see me plug that into skyvector.com. And then you will see me go ahead and fix that mistake. You'll see me plug this into a flight management computer. We'll tweak it to make sure there's no discontinuities and there's no vectors. Then we go ahead and I show you some of the features of this new IXEG B-737-300 aircraft. After we're done with that, we get taken off from Halifax. And we start on our way to Boston. We are about a quarter of the way in. We still have a good chunk of time left, about 37 minutes according to the ticker tape. So let's get back into the cockpit. Let's look at our map and see where we went. So this is the line of where we went. We were on the Victor 310 airway. And then the Victor 380. So here we are, and we're coming back onto this airway. And we still got a ways to go yet, but let's zoom in on our aircraft here. There we are. So again, I really think it's worth the $100 for this particular aircraft. I know $100 is kind of steep for an aircraft compared to some of the ones you can buy for $30 or $40. But the features are just tremendous. It has a full autopilot. If you tune in both your nav radios to the same ILS frequency, you're supposed to be able to have the plane do an auto landing. Now, when I tried that this morning, it gave me a whole bunch of errors, and then I just took over and finished the landing. But it looked like it was going to do a good job. So I don't know if we're going to get the same problems or not this time around, but we'll see. As you can see, we're 55 nautical miles away from our next waypoint. Let's look at our flight management computer for progress. So we'll go here, we'll click on the progress button. You can see our next waypoint is PVK, and then print, and then we are still 304 nautical miles away from Boston. Another thing to note is the T/D, or top of descent, 202 nautical miles before we start our descent. And I don't know what that is. I wonder what that's going to be. So let's go to legs over here, and let's go next page, and here we go. It looks like at the Wayne waypoint we need to be above 3,000 feet. So we'll go back to progress. We'll zoom out, and let's get us up here. And what I can do now is take my altitude and drag it down to 3,000 feet. And as long as I do that before I hit the top of descent, the plane will automatically start descending for me at the desired altitude. So we won't do it quite yet, but that is something that it can do here. So let's look at that. So I think it's time for a little more music, because like I said, you can see from the ticker tape, we still got 35 minutes of flying, and I did show you quite a bit of things here. So let's go ahead and adjust this. Go back here, and I'm going to reset the view on all these things, restore all. Let's go for a walk. Let's put on some music. We'll go for a walk, and we will see all our friends in the plane today. All right, everybody, I'm back, and I see we have a couple questions here in the chat. So first thing I'll say is Bombasco. I am probably one of the, I don't want to say only, but one of the very few people that have created such clear and very easy to understand tutorials. So my live streams are more about kind of going from end to end than doing the tutorial, but I think my two tutorials on using a flight management computer and GPS and creating flight planning are absolutely perfect for beginners. So if you are interested, I would recommend starting there. As far as the AirAC stuff goes, Sean, what I can tell you is this. So every 28 days or so, and don't quote me on the actual specific time frame, every so many days we'll say, the charts update. Maybe there's a new nav aid added, maybe there's one removed, maybe a runway is added or shut down, maybe there's construction. So what happens is all the maps get updated, and then the navigation folks give you a period of time that data is valid for. In other words, no changes can be made during that period. So if you want to, make a change to a runway or something like that, ultimately, if you can, you would do it outside that period. X-Plane 11 comes with a default, I think it's 1607 or 9 or something like that, set of nav data. What it means is, let's say the current AirAC is 1802. That means it's valid for February of 2018. Once you exceed February of 2018, then basically you're no longer valid. Now it might be still perfectly and it might still work, but it could mean that air traffic control could point you to a nav aid that your flight management computer or GPS does not have. So again, you have to be careful. When you're flying in the simulator, it doesn't matter as much, but when you're flying online with VATSIM, it's probably pretty important to make sure that you are, following the nav aids that they give you. You can purchase a subscription to Navigraph. I think it's about $30 for an entire year if you're not going to do charts and you're just going to do flight management computer. And you'll always have the latest updates. So here, let me bring you to my web browser for a sec, Sean. Let's cut over. Here we go. So if I go over here and I go to SimBrief, you can see here that my AirAC is good for 1802. So because I purchased the Navigraph subscription, I'm able to use the latest up-to-date AirAC. So if you don't have a Navigraph subscription, which I recommend for $30, it's definitely worth it. I don't know if you need the chart-based one where you have all the charts. If you're, really into flying and you want ultimate realism, then yes, that's a good thing. If you just want to have up-to-date maps, then you can even subscribe for a month. It's $8, I think, euro for a month. You can update all your systems, and then basically you can cancel it, until the next AirAC, or you can do that once every 3 months or whatever you prefer, or for like €30 a year, you can have complete coverage. Once you unlock Navigraph, you're able to update all your nav data in your simulator, and the Navigraph has a plugin that will update all your flight management computers, ones in this aircraft, ones with FMC that you purchase, the default aircraft, the GNS, the Garmin G1000, pretty much everything. And then you'll be able to use SkyVector and SimBrief and make sure that these waypoints that you see on the screen relate to that. So if we go here to navigraph.com, if I spell it right, you can see here, if you go products and then FMS data, you can purchase a subscription. You can select your country, and here's your options. So for €8.30 a month, you can have everything you ever dreamed of: movable maps, multiplayer, charts, all on the cloud, available from your iPad, available from your Android. It's pretty sweet. However, if you don't want to spend that, because it does get expensive over a year, for 25 or so euro, you can just get a complete year of all the data that you require for your flight management computer. And then they have finally a separate subscription for charts. As far as the SIDS and stars go, I don't quite understand this myself. Most of the time SimBrief will give me them, or give me the intersection. If you really want to know, you can look up the charts, and the charts will tell you that if you're landing at this particular airport or runway, then the SID or star is this. And again, if you have the Navigraph chart subscription, you can fire up the chart and see it all on the screen. So I hope that answered some of your questions with regards to that. If it didn't, I do have a tutorial that I created on this specifically, and you can go ahead and simply do that and watch my Navigraph tutorial. So hopefully that answered your questions. Anybody else? I don't know if you have questions. I know it's a little quiet. The first part of this tutorial taught a lot of people a lot of things about creating a flight management plan. I showed you how going into simbrief.com sometimes causes mistakes. So you know what, we just popped out of there. So let's pop in there again, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I go back to the web browser here, I told you that SimBrief gave me, for our flight plan, these waypoints. And when I plug them into SkyVector.com, you're going to notice something. If I paste these into here, and then into there, and zoom out quite a bit, there's this crazy triangle. So it wants me to go to Halifax. Then it wants me to go halfway across the world to Edmonton. And then it wants me to come all the way back again to Halifax. And then it sends me on my way to Boston. So obviously there's something wrong here, right? But if I look at SimBrief and I come down to the bottom, it looks like it's perfect. I'm coming from Halifax. I'm going to Boston. There's no crazy going to Edmonton way down here and coming back. So again, SimBrief tells me it's valid. It's valid for this AIRAC cycle of 1802. It tells me these are the waypoints. It shows me on a map that these waypoints look good. But when I plug them into SkyVector, which is a more realistic flight planning tool, it tells me you're going to go for a joyride. So don't just take SimBrief's word for it, folks. If you're going to fly using SimBrief, no problem. But I always recommend plugging it into SkyVector or something like that so that you can validate your point. So let's say again, I can find out which one's the culprit by highlighting my mouse over each waypoint. So if I click this Vigma, this seems to be the bad guy. I delete it like so. And you can see there's no crazy random trips anymore. So again, that is just a trick I showed you earlier, but since we're flying, we get some time. I wanted to show you again. Please, 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 don't just trust SkyVector. You're going to want to also validate that yourself, folks, okay? So, yeah, getting back to your question, Sean, I mean, everyone wants different things when it comes to learning and explain. Sometimes I want to go really crazy and realistic, and I want to fly, and I want to use the charts, and I want to do it all myself. Sometimes I just want the X-plane air traffic control, which is much better, by the way, guys. So for those of you that are maybe on the fence about using the X-plane air traffic control, it's no prodigal son by any means, but it is much better than it used to. The X-plane 11.10 update came out in December, and if you guys didn't download that update, I highly recommend that you do so, because that particular update includes a glass cockpit for the Cessna. So the G1000 has a glass cockpit. The Sirius Vision SF50 also have a glass cockpit, and they all come part of that X-plane 11.10 update. It also greatly improves the AI when it comes to air traffic control. Then the third option is if you go to VATSIM, you're able to go to VATSIM and fly online. That's where the charts are really handy, because air traffic control could say, I want you to go to this particular waypoint or take this SID, and you're like, what the? I don't know what it is, and maybe it's brand new and it never came out in the default map set that X-plane 11 bought at the start of X-plane 11, and you're kind of, screwed, if you will. So that is something that you'll want to do. So to recap, I'm flying the IXEG B-737-300 plane. It's $100 from xaviation.com, and it is the best aircraft I have ever flown in X-plane 11. The realism is bar none. If I move my mouse to the far left, I have multiple views. If I move my mouse to the top left, I have all kinds of preferences, like my zero fuel weight and all these things. I can go ahead and walk around the airplane. I can move my seat if I want to. So let's move away here for a bit and see if I can do it. There we go. So you can see I can move my seat and adjust my seat. I can go up here and I can play with the light. I can close the window covers if I don't want to see that. I can take a walk over here, and I'll get to your question in a second there, Bruce. And I can walk through the hallway, and I can go through the cabin. I can open the doors. I don't know if you guys just heard that, but the level of sound volume just decreased as I walked into the cabin because I'm further away from the engine. That's how real this thing is, guys. Like, it is just spectacular. So to answer your question, Bruce, I'm using something called Ben Overlay. Ben Overlay is a free plugin. You install a plugin with X-plane 11. So here's what I'll do. Let's get to see my beautiful face again. I'll cut over to the webcam. Over here at the top, we go to plugins. There's a plugin called XPU IPC. And that plugin works with the Ben Overlay. And then I can tie that into my Open Broadcaster Studio, and you can see all the things that I need to see. So if you're interested in doing live streaming, which is definitely fun, hey, you're going to be flying anyway, you might as well let other people learn from you flying. So you install something called Ben Overlay, and you install this particular plugin, and then you can have the cool ticker, which I'm going to start using. For those of you that don't know and are just watching my live stream, I do create a lot of YouTube tutorials, and a lot of my tutorials are very helpful for people. But sometimes at the end of the tutorial, people go, well, like, hey, Jason, I can't replicate what you just did. So how the heck did you do that? And this is one of the ways that I'm hoping will change that, as people can do that. So we're getting close, guys. We're getting close. So let's go ahead and zoom in. We are 17 nautical miles from our next waypoint. Let's look at the flight management computer. We are 58 nautical miles away from our top of descent. All right, guys, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. This means we will be landing soon, and either one of two things will happen. We will crash to our doom, or we will land this big bird, which I have only flown now my second time. So do not expect a great landing, but I'm hoping for a good one. So, what do you do? What do you do? I'll tell you what you do. We will go over here, and I'm going to drag the altitude down to 3,000 feet. And you're saying, what? Why? And I'll show you. So we're now at 3,000 feet. And the reason why we're at 3,000 feet is because if we go to the lags portion of our flight plan, and we go down to the lower, when we get to the Wayne waypoint, we have to be above 3,000 feet. So what we're going to be doing is doing exactly what that said. So how it works is this. When we get to the top of descent, which is 48 nautical miles away, nothing's going to happen. Absolutely nothing. Unless I change my altitude on the MCP to be that. So by me setting it below the 30,000 feet, which is our cruising altitude, and setting it to our desired altitude of 3,000 feet, the second we hit the top of descent, the flight management computer will automatically start our descent down to 3,000 feet. So let's have a look at the map, folks. We're on the T295 airway. Do we see Boston in sight? I don't see it yet. Nope. Nope. And no. So we still have a ways to go. But as you can see from the ticker tape at the top, we don't have much longer to go. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll put on another song or two. I'm going to go take a drink and a little break, and we'll come back and we'll prepare for our top of descent. All right, everybody, we're back, and we are approaching our top of descent. We are 20 nautical miles away. The end is in sight. We are almost there. We had a fun ride, and our IXEG B-737-300 aircraft, approximately $100 from x-aviation.com, the most realistic aircraft I have ever flew in X-plane. For those of you that have just tuned in, I highly recommend starting back from the top of the stream. Once it goes into archive mode, you will see all kinds of cool things, such as creating a flight plan, fixing mistakes, validating a flight plan, using the flight management computer, and all kinds of cool features in this particular aircraft. Let's look at our flight management computer. It tells me we are 10 nautical miles away from our top of descent. Let's zoom in and look at that on the screen. We should start seeing at any point in time a little circle that says T/C. When that comes on our screen, we will be ready to go. Then you will start to see the aircraft go from 30,000 feet down to 3,000 feet. We will intercept the ILS, localizer, and glide slope. There you go, folks. Pay attention, pay attention. Here we go. Top of descent. Get ready. We are going down. I repeat, we are going down. So I will zoom out a little bit so that you guys can also note the altitude. So watch on the screen. On the right hand side, we have 30,000 as our altitude. On the bottom middle of the screen, we have a T/D coming in. T/D stands for top of descent. Once we hit top of descent, we will start descending down to 3,000. Dun, 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 dun. Here we go. There we go. The altimeter is now dropping, folks. And that's how easy it is to fly one of these big birds. Well, maybe virtually. So again, I changed my altitude from 30,000 down to 3,000. And that is that. That's what I did. So there we go. I changed my altitude from 30,000 to 3,000. I also noticed for some reason the LNAV ticked off, so I just turned it back on. And aha, I see another little cool thing here. Look what we got down here, folks. Looky, looky. I see, or I saw, the localizer. So it just disappeared. So for a few seconds, the localizer appeared. So we're going down to 3,000 feet. That's what we're doing. And we will see what happens very soon. While we have another 20 minutes to go, we'll play a final song, and then we'll get ready for our landing. Alright folks, so you can see on the screen here we are 61 nautical miles away from our end of descent. At that point in time we will be at 3,000 feet. We are coming to the end of our flight. We are almost there. Things were pretty uneventful. We learned a lot. You got to see the IXEG B-737-300, which, as I mentioned 4 or 5 times, is my favorite aircraft. Let's fire up the map. We should start seeing KBOS for Boston. Is this it? It is. There is 22 left, folks. There is 22 left. Let's tune to nav 1 and nav 2. We're making our approach here onto the last leg of the trip. You can see here on the screen, we're turning on to the V3 jetway. There we go. Hey Bruce, I just purchased this one, IXEG B-737-300 from X Aviation. I have never seen a more realistic plane in the 2 days so far that I've been flying it, but we are now lining up with Victor 3 Airway on our way to KBOS. We're going in at runway 22 left. I'm going to get my feet set up on the rudder pedals. We're going to look over. I don't see KBOS showing up yet. Let's make sure the autopilot didn't kick in yet, or didn't kick out, because this particular aircraft has it set up in such a way that when the autopilot, when your yoke or anything like that moves beyond a certain threshold, it turns it off. We're almost at 10,000 feet. Our speed will turn to 250 knots as is required in North America below 10,000 feet. The other thing that needs to happen when we're at 10,000 feet or below is turn on our landing lights. We can see I have a localizer. I am not lined up yet, but you can see this little circle down here means that my nav1 radio has picked up a localizer. When it moves to the center, I will be lined up with the runway. And when we get a little closer, I will get the glide slope, and we will have another little circle here on the right. And when the circle in the middle here is lined up, I'm going at the right pitch in. When the circle in the middle here lines up, I'm going to be center of the runway, and we should have a good landing. So we are at 12,100 feet, ladies and gentlemen. I wish I had a pilot hat right now to wear. That would be really cool, so I have to be on the lookout for that. Then I can spice up my live streams a little bit with a cool pilot hat. Almost at 10,000 feet, where we will start following the procedures that need to be followed at 10,000 feet. But we're still 41 nautical miles away to descending to 3,000 feet, so we still have a ways to go. We are now almost at 10,000 feet, so let's go ahead to the overhead panel. Activate the landing lights, which is required. All the other things are okay right now. You're going to now see the speed start to slow down here. Once we start to get below 10,000, it's all taken care of for us automatically by the flight management computer. We don't have to do anything, which is very nice. There we go, below 10,000 feet. You can now see the speed start to go down. 250 knots is the maximum speed that you're supposed to go whenever you are below 10,000 feet. So the flight management computer is doing that for me. As you can see on the screen, we still have 36 nautical miles away until we get to 3,000 feet. But anywhere in the next 2 to 5 minutes, folks, we should start to intercept the glide slope and localizer. So let me walk through what is going to happen, everyone. What will happen is the following. When we see the localizer and we're in the right basically line up for the airport runway. I'm going to go down here to Vorlock and select that, and that will line me up left or right, laterally. Then I'm going to go ahead and hit the approach button once I am near the glide slope, which I'll explain all this stuff, and Bob's your uncle, we're good. So, since we're landing at runway 22 left, that means we have to change our heading to 220, so let's do that so that we're prepared. There we go. Let's have a look at our moving map. And you can see here at the which waypoint will be on our last leg of the trip to land. Now, what did I tell you guys early on? I told you that I purchased a plugin called Airport Visual System, and now I choose the destination here, and I go default again. I can then go to the taxiway, and for some reason it's, I guess, removed the taxi setup that I previously had, so let's go ahead and set that up. We want to go to Alpha, and then I think we will go to this particular gate here. Let's just say there, and we'll accept that. And that's okay for now. So we'll keep this view here for now so that we can see this. I'll make it transparent. No, I'll just leave it like this so that we're all lined up. Let's check out the map again to see where we are. We're still not quite there. But I do have some good news for you here. We are now intercepting the glide slope. So here we go. You can see here on the far right hand side, I have an indicator here saying we're above the glide slope. So when this little triangle comes down to the middle, that means we are ready to press the approach button. This particular little circle, whenever it comes to the middle, we're lined up with the runway. So we're at 6,000 feet. Let's go ahead and lower our landing gear, lower our flaps. And because we're using a flight management computer, it just takes care of the speed for us automatically, so I don't have to worry about things. Let's look at the outside of the aircraft. Landing lights are on. Landing gear is down. Let's make sure that our flaps deploy properly. And they did. We are lining up to land at KBOS Boston, coming in from Halifax with some tired passengers. Any minute, 5 minutes or less, we will be there. Everyone, I hope you can wish me some good comments in the chat, because this will be the second time that I've flown this aircraft, so I'm hoping that I get your support. So wish me luck, guys. Again, second time ever flying this aircraft. I only purchased it recently. I flew this trip this morning. It went okay. Well, relatively okay. We did run into a couple issues. So you guys let me know what you guys are hoping for. Are we hoping to crash? Are we hoping to land? What's going on? Here we go. We're landing. We're lining up here, approaching our Waxen waypoints. We will then come down here and set up for our glide slope. We are at 3,700 feet on our way down to 3,000. Airport visual system is lined up so that we are ready to taxi to the appropriate gate once we land. Master caution has been activated. I don't see any reason for it, so I'll remove it. 231 knots. We're slowing our speed down. I'd like to get to about 190 knots. Here we go. Lining up with the runway. Master caution again. We gotta land this bird, so sorry, master caution. We are still overspeeding. We need to be at 190 knots or so in order to not blow our wings off with the flaps. We're almost there, so maybe if I press master caution one more time, it'll leave me alone. 11 nautical miles until we get to the airport. And that is why, folks, we are running low on fuel. That is why. We're running low on fuel. I guess we didn't have as much reserves as I wanted to have. We should make it. We have less than 0.4 for fuel right now, folks. So I could see why the master caution is complaining. But the airport is in sight. The airport's in sight, folks. So there we go. Glide slope activated. Approach mode activated. There we go. Door lock activated. Approach. There we go. So we are now on the glide slope. So I'm just making sure we're lined up here. We're still going down. We've intercepted the glide slope here. You can see we have a triangle right in the middle. Triangle in the middle.
2,500.
2,500 feet, folks. We are low fuel. I repeat, we are low on fuel. But it is what it is. We are going to slow this bird down to 160. Wish me luck, guys. Wish me luck. If you're still with me, say something in the chat. It can be anything. Show me that you're with me here and you want this landing to go well. Do-do-do. Here we go. 1,500 feet. 1,500 feet. Let's bring it down to 150, even though 160 was kind of okay. We're coming in for a landing. Here we come. Well, 1,100 feet, folks. We're on the glide slope. Things are looking good.
1,000.
1,000. Everything's lined up. I can see our PAPI lights from the distance as being too red, too white. So that's a good sign. Kind of quiet in the chat. I was hoping for a bit of moral support, guys. We're almost ready to land. We're coming in for an auto landing. It's called.
400.
Turn on B.
300.
Okay.
Low,
I
flat.
pressed B
Too low, flat. Too low, flat.
because what B does
Low,
for me,
flat.
folks, is
Low,
B
flat.
is supposed to set me up
Too low, flat.
to do a automatic
Margin,
landing.
yeah.
However, it doesn't look like it did that. So that's fine. And there we go. We're on the ground. The plane is shaking. We're now watching the screen, looking for our plane so that we can see where we are on this map. Here we are. I know where to turn off. There we go. So I still have to read the manual in this plane, folks, but one of the things that I read is that if you press the autopilot for both A and B, then it's supposed to perform what's called an auto landing. So you're not even having to touch the plane, essentially. So I haven't been able to do that yet, but it is what it is. And I see a gate open here, so I'm just going to select the gate on the right instead of the path that we selected. Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at Boston from Halifax. We flew the X-737 plane today, which is approximately $100 from X Aviation. We used simbrief.com to create our flight plan. I showed you that when we copied the flight plan into SkyVector, there were some mistakes and errors. We corrected those mistakes and errors. We plugged them into our flight management computer, and we had a successful flight. So everything is good. I had a good time tonight. I hope all of you guys did and enjoyed this. The parking brake doesn't seem to want to go in. There we go. The parking brake's activated. So I hope you enjoyed the live stream tonight. Thanks for spending over 2 hours with me tonight. I plan to next fly the Sirius Vision SF50. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. You can sponsor my channel. You can do a super chat. I use any money that I receive for this to create more tutorials for you. I also use the money to buy more equipment and do reviews. Cost a lot of money to buy plugins and things like that. Like I said, this plane was $100. The last plugin for Airport Visual System was $20. So your support in sponsoring my channel or purchasing a super chat will help me go towards buying more plugins so I can do more reviews. So also check out my tutorials versus my live stream, where I take things a lot slower and there's less mistakes because it's not live, so that anybody is able to follow along. So again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.